Roll call, please.
Sisson. Here. Darrell. Zumal. Here. Huffman.
Here.
Hughes.
Present.
Haynes. Here. Fleming.
Here.
Ellenberger.
Here.
We have a quorum. Welcome, everyone. Sorry we don't have seats for everyone. First item is, we've got a report. Brianne and I met with representatives from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity this week with a potential client for our new industrial park, and it sounds real good. They will go unnamed as they requested, and but it was a very positive meeting, and can mean another 150 jobs or more. So, and more to come on that, I'm sure. We also got word this week that the new AT&T tower out at the lake will begin construction on May 19th. Finally, took a lot of prodding by Brianne and got it there. Public participation, Corey Brink. Corey, just step up to the microphone, please.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Corey Brink. I started the K&A distribution of business in town here 20 years ago this month. I distributed supplies to grocery stores across the southern half of Illinois. Over time, a lot of those mom and pop stores closed, so I had to make a transition last year. And I ended up selling my supply accounts to a bigger company. And then I opened up a food truck and a bounce house rental business. I always had vision I eventually open a restaurant, and that's happened a lot quicker than I originally anticipated. Litchfield was my first choice to open that restaurant initially. Once I got the process going with the food truck, I started not liking Litchfield as a place to put my business anymore. And now I am opening that restaurant in Donaldson. I'm spending about $300,000 there. I'm gonna provide probably 20 to 30 jobs there in the next 6 months. I spend probably $3,000 a month on fuel that I no longer buy in Litchfield. The process to get a food truck permit here is by far the most difficult that I've seen in any town. Most towns around here do not require a food truck permit. You get the county permit and that's it. Harlanville doesn't have one, Greenville doesn't have one. Your smaller communities like Raymond, Farmersville, Witt, Taylor Springs, Coffeen, I mean, none of these other communities have a food truck permit. Hillsborough does. They kind of followed suit, I think, based off of what Litchfield does. And I think both of these towns are suffering because of it. I did a catering event for the elementary school last year. I had to go in and fill out a packet about that thick of paperwork to get a food truck permit. It cost me $150. My profit on that event catering to the school was not $150. I lost money on that. Not everything we do as a food truck is set up open to the public. We do a lot of catering, and actually Litchfield businesses are my biggest customer now, as far as the catering goes in my business. But if they want if they wanna make something special and have the food truck experience there, it costs me $150 more to offer the same food that I'd offer just dropping it off. So I think that might be something to consider addressing. Yeah, I guess I probably would have opened that restaurant here if it wouldn't have been for the experience of last year. So, and now my bounce house rental goes there too. So, I'm not a huge employer by any means compared to what you were just talking about, but that's 20 or 30 jobs that aren't gonna be here. That's gonna be the gaming revenue I bring into the restaurant. We've got a liquor license now too. So there's a lot of revenue that Litchfield will lose out on because of my experience last year. I think that should be addressed going forward for the future. I've done a lot of events here, like I was at Pickers Market every month last year. So, I mean, I still like the community, I like a lot of the people, I know several faces in here. But that was my experience, and I think it should probably be addressed in some manner.
Okay, first, I'd like to congratulate you on your business venture.
Like,
Sorry it's not here. The food truck permit was to protect people like you that would open a restaurant here and not have a food truck parked at their front door. And I believe the fee is just an annual fee, it's not a per event.
it expires in June, so if you do the full summer, you gotta get two of them. You know, that was my first year, so
I see.
my permit
Well,
ended in June.
You would have had it for a year, that's, yeah.
Yes, but most communities around here don't have that. A couple do, but most don't, and that's where the food trucks are going now. So I've talked to a lot of other food truck owners. Litchfield is kinda on a blacklist, so to speak, where there's a number of food truck owners that will not come to Litchfield for that reason.
Well, again, we have a lot of employees, employed at restaurants with, taxpayers and taxes being collected and property taxes being paid, and a food truck can come in and out. If we don't regulate it, we can have 6 or 8 parked in front of all our restaurants, and we're trying to protect, you know, the brick and mortars as well as the employees.
I understand, I think you might be doing more harm than good though, but.
Thank you very much.
Hey, do
Again,
you know where your sales tax
Good.
goes?
My sales tax now, because of my bounce house.
The Donaldson now?
Well, it's complicated. It initially did go to, well, it was Litchfield until December. Now it would be Donaldson, but they started a new law this year regarding the bounce house rentals, where we have to charge a service tax on bounce house rentals. Because it's under the same corporation as my food truck, now that sales tax, I have to file it for every town I set up in.
But when you were just a food truck though, it was based on the zip code of
Yeah,
where it's
that's-
located. So Litchfield got that before,
Yes.
and now that somehow we lost that?
Correct.
I just want to clarify something I was unsure of, so we're losing out on that sales tax then.
Right.
Do you have the bounce house here?
The business,
Mhm.
I moved it to Donaldson in December. I was in the old roller derby building
Okay.
for the last 15 years with my distribution business, and that's where the bounce house and food truck is out of.
thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from the March 6, 2025 meeting? Thank you, Alderman Garrell. Can I get a second? Alderwoman Huffman, thank you. Are there any discrepancies or additions to those minutes? Roll call, please.
Kellenberger,
Aye.
Fleming,
Aye.
Payne. Hughes. Huffman.
Aye.
Zumal. Garrell.
Aye.
Sisson.
Motion passes. I'd like a motion to approve the expenditure report and the payroll report for the current period. Alderman Huffman, thank you.
I'll second it.
Alderman Fleming, thank you. Any changes for the expenditure or questions? Roll call, please.
Sisson.
Aye.
Garrell.
Aye.
Zumal. Huffman.
Aye.
Hughes. Payne. Fleming.
Aye.
Kellenberger.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now I ask for a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a contract with Montgomery County Animal Control for animal control services.
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Hughes,
Second.
Alderman Fleming. Okay, I didn't include you on the public participation because it'd be a repetition here, so, we will include the county board members in this discussion at some point if there are questions for you. I have one question for, State's Attorney Affronte.
Yes, sir.
The last item I got from the county at a mayor's meeting was a revised draft of the animal control policy manual.
Okay.
Is there a final to that?
It hasn't been, approved yet. They're working on some final changes for it. I don't believe it's been approved at the county court level yet.
But that was March of last year that we got that.
Yes. And I know there's been some changes in regard to who's on the committee and who's, managing it.
I know the committee has changed.
So I think that, I don't know
Board
if
member
that-
Jeremy Jones.
I know he wrote it.
So the reason we haven't pushed it through is because we're waiting on all the communities to sign up, and, that way we have the final agreement. Without all the communities on board, why push forward a policy manual if it's gotta be amended right afterwards? So the goal is to get all the communities on board. Once they're all on board, then we'll finalize it, and then, we'll push it forward.
Is that normal when it's part of a contract?
Well, we're waiting on making sure we don't, have to amend it. I mean,
And you're right, this has been in flux forever, I mean,
this has been in flux forever. We've been discussing this, on the county level with the mayor's meetings for years. So this is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed, as soon as possible.
The current contract is something that we never discussed in the, we had options, never discussed in the
That's-
mayor's meeting.
Oh, I disagree. I've been in those meetings, along with you and other people, and we've discussed it. Matter of fact, I think almost every mayor meeting I've been in, we've discussed it at some level. Matter of fact.
Jeremy, I know we discussed it, don't mean to interrupt.
Okay, that's fine.
What we got was a list of options, we never got the final, and I know it was stated that one was emailed in June of last year, and the person that, would have been in charge of that can't locate one, so.
Well, we had this finalized back in June of last year, and we've been discussing it in every mayor meeting since. So, take it for what it is. I'm saddened that it wasn't brought back to the council and, discussed with the council, but being that as it is, we're gonna discuss it now, hopefully, and get it all squared away.
Well, it was discussed, but
Okay.
This particular, I just want to clear the air, this particular contract, the last one I got was that there would be $150 charge, or $100 charge per, animal in the, operating hours, and $250 after.
No, we went to the original, September, last year, we discussed the $250. I was there in the meeting, it was, negotiated down to $2 in the meeting, it was changed, and the original $250 per after hours was kept the same.
And then we were discussing, before we signed, those that haven't signed yet, it's more than just Litchfield and Hillsborough, but.
There's a couple, yeah.
That there were some questions that we wanted to ask, or answered,
And that's fine, that's why I'm here.
and, oh, good, okay. We asked, especially in our case, when, animal control is 15, 20 minutes away, if they get here after hours, are we gonna be charged if they can't locate that animal?
Well, first of all, if you guys have a serious situation, we probably need to be doing our due diligence on our end here. Our job, go ahead, please.
So you asking, just so I can understand from a contract perspective, are you asking if you call it, say, 4 o'clock, and say animal control doesn't get here until 5:15, are you gonna get charged for the $250?
That's that too, but I'm saying if they're called at 10 o'clock, and they get over here and in the dark, they can't find that animal, do we get charged?
Well, so the way I read the contract is for the emergency situations after hours, those are generally gonna be when the animal is in the custody of law enforcement, or, law enforcement is on scene with an animal that needs care from, the, animal control.
Yeah.
Are you talking about a situation where
Well,
they just,
and we'll control that through our
Yeah.
police department. I talked with Chief Riker here, and he's got a plan to mesh our leash law with the, animal control contract. But if an officer is called and there is a problem, and he can't, I mean, we don't have the equipment or, at this point, or the training to handle that animal, to contain it, number one. Number two, they may get called away for,
For
very
sure.
important business, and then, my point is, if they don't pick up that animal, are we going to be charged?
Yes.
We'll be charged.
You know,
Okay.
if you're gonna make the call to have us leave after hours, we have the expense to have to get our person out of bed, whatever, bring them all the way over here, track down the animal, get the animal, not find the animal. What we would like is, a partnership with the communities to actually do their due diligence on their end. If it's a situation where they can just grab the dog, put it into a kennel, we come and pick it up, that's wonderful. If you can't do that, kinda keep your eye on it, tell us, hey, it's over in this block area, we can go over and, we've not had a lot of situations. Most generally, when we can't find the animals because somebody let it out to go to the bathroom, by the time we get over here, they left back in their house.
True.
That's the stuff that we need to avoid, and that's where we need you on your end to keep from calling us at 2 o'clock in the morning because somebody left their dog go out and use the restroom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and some of the questions that the city council had put together at the last meeting, I think lead into this. So if you don't mind, I'll go through the list that the council had prepared last time for the county. Number one was, will the county provide us with the names of pet owners whose animals have been picked up by animal control? The reason we would request that is that we would need this information to issue any relevant ordinance violations.
Yes, I can answer that further too. So when you guys call us to pick up this animal, you guys are gonna have record of it as well.
Excellent.
Then you're gonna find, I mean, you're calling us, right? So once, say if we're during business hours and we happen to have somebody else call, however it works out, and we come over and get the animal, we'll have that in a report. And if you guys wanna have some policy to where you can call us and pick up that report, or we can send it to you electronically, we have no
So
problem.
we can maybe set up just a weekly, you send it to us once a week?
However you wanna do it.
Okay, great.
Who's calling for the pickup?
That's one of the questions.
calling, or?
No.
That's one of the questions on the list,
No.
so maybe for the sake of time, if we go through these, then anything that's not addressed, we can add additionally.
Okay, perfect.
The second question, will we be billed annually, quarterly, or monthly for the service? Do you know how the billing would work?
Billing will, according to the contract, it'll occur quarterly.
Quarterly, okay, perfect. Number three is, would the county consider making the pet owner and any repeat offenders responsible for associated costs?
I can answer that.
So, we,
Let me answer it, or do you wanna answer? This was discussed previously. So our goal is to collect the fees from the individual based upon the health and welfare of the animal. If you folks want to get into the behavioral, changing the behaviors side of your citizens, those fees and stuff would be issued by you guys.
so if you're talking about issuing an ordinance violation, that would be taken care of by your city attorney in the ordinance court. So
Correct.
if you have a fine associated with whatever violation occurs, you would collect that through ordinance court, or payment direct. I think you guys take payment ahead of time to avoid the need to go to ordinance court sometimes, but.
Okay, so if, say, for example, it was an after-hours call, you wouldn't be willing to charge the violator, it would be the city that pays you, and then we would need to write an ordinance violation to make up any different
Correct.
costs on
Absolutely,
ours.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
your job would be changing behavior, our job is to take care of the animal, make sure it's safe.
And,
That
and
answers the
certainly,
question.
and I'm sure your council can explain it, certainly, you guys have a range of fines and court costs that you can add to those, so if you have somebody that gets picked up during the day that doesn't have that extra fee, you have a certain fee schedule for the ordinance violation, and if you have somebody that gets an animal picked up in the after hours and you have that associated fee, then you can get it. And
Yes.
certainly, as your council can explain, going through the court system with the ordinance violation, you have more tools to collect that fee than just us doing it at the outset.
And I think our fear is, so our ordinance does allow for $750 per instance per day. I understand that the judges do want to be reasonable with the fees they're issuing. We just want to, we would probably be requesting around 500 for the incident to cover that 250 call out,
And
and
that's
then-
all on you.
Yeah, so but
However
I
you
think,
wanna do it.
I think if your council explains the reason they're asking for that increased fine on that particular ticket, I think the judge will be understanding.
Excellent, okay.
Okay, one thing, is it a two-page contract or,
I have a two-page,
Front and back, yeah.
where does it say that, will be billed quarterly?
so on mine, it is, the first, bullet point says, the term of the contract shall be for 1 year from the signing of the contract. Contract will automatically renew for 3-year periods after the first year, unless notice is sent 90 days prior to the renewal date. Billing will occur quarterly with payment due in 45 days.
Okay.
Got it,
Excellent.
very good.
Number 4, how many staff members are assigned to responding to calls?
Very, as you know, we're having some issues right now, so hopefully we get those corrected, but, that wouldn't have anything to do with our agreement with you, we'd make sure we would, uphold our end. It varies, we've had 3-4 people down there at a time, and sometimes we've been fortunate to have one.
And we totally understand personnel issues, every
certainly
That
with,
being said, there is someone designated currently who would be able to
yeah, there's an
respond.
on-call,
yes.
there's an on-call after hours assigned, and then there's at least one assigned during the day.
Okay, great.
Certainly with signing this contract, it'll give us additional funding. You know, if we don't have a contract with Litchfield, there's not a point in having somebody in that position to respond to Litchfield,
Yep.
so that'll help with that as well.
Okay, so question 5 of 8, at what point in the day would we be charged for the after-hours fee? For example, a citizen calls at 4:30 or 4:45 during business hours.
So if the dispatch is at 5 or after, that's when the fee kicks in.
Okay,
But,
so
so-
when the dispatches.
Yeah, so now, just to be clear, I don't think, and I think it's one of your questions, but I don't think citizens are gonna be calling.
That's what I was guessing too. Yeah, and we were discussing that previously, you know, if you call it 4 o'clock, we'd probably get her done by 5, but the contract, the way it reads, it specifically states 5 o'clock, so anything after 5 o'clock.
Any call after
Yeah,
5 o'clock?
it's
or-
reference, the contract reference calls.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's just like if, sometimes we get on these calls and because of the investigation, it could take it, 2 hours.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay, and then the $250 after-hours fee, the city has agreed, we would absolutely use that for emergencies only.
Right.
We don't wish to burden you guys, we don't wish to rack up fees on our end. If there were something that were covered under state statute, like a true vicious animal or a
Yeah.
dangerous dog that's a repeat offender of 3 times, we assume the fee would not apply in that
Right.
instance.
If we're doing an investigation on something that we do, that we're covered under our statute, then that'd be ours.
Okay, question number 7, that has to do with who would be calling, so even during daytime hours,
Right.
you need a designated caller, is what I'm understanding.
So the contract that we put together has names and numbers of who can authorize during the day and who can authorize during the weekend and after hours. So it could be the same people, it could be different people, just however you wanna set that up.
Okay.
That's who we'll respond to. If somebody calls us directly, then we'll refer them to Litchfield, basically to Litchfield Dispatch to get somebody that can respond.
Okay, thank you. And then number 8, the last question, that came up was, which communities other than Litchfield and Hillsborough are not under contract currently?
We have a list, huge list of who are under contract, but I do not have a list of who is not.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I can get that to you, that's not a problem, but hopefully after today, and maybe in another 2 weeks, hopefully everybody will be.
What did the other people sign, this contract?
No, so, well,
Go ahead.
so my understanding, and Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the smaller towns and villages opted for a per occurrence contract because they thought that would fit their needs better.
Yeah, some of them did.
But the larger, so both Litchfield and Hillsborough, I think, have asked for a contract that's based on a per capita, so that they have a set cost that they know every year this is what they're generally gonna pay.
And it was based upon budgeting, so you guys know what you're gonna spend. Some of the smaller communities, for example, Farmersville might have 1 call a year. You know, where Witt, we have a problematic situation over there with, happens to be the same person every time, right? You guys all know the story, right? So, we have to go over and over and over and over and over and do the same thing over and over and over. So, every community is different, so they all have their own situation, so they wanted it to
So has
better.
anybody signed per capita, or is it just,
Nobody signed a per capita yet.
okay, so all the ones that have been signed are smaller and per occurrence, correct?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually, I think
What Nokomis do.
they didn't do it, they did a per.
Yeah.
Per.
They were on the bubble,
So,
and they were looking at which one's gonna be cheaper.
I don't think Nokomis has signed it.
Oh, Nokomis hadn't signed yet.
At
Yeah, I
the
don't
last
think-
email we got, Nokomis had not signed.
I don't think
okay.
Nokomis, those Redmond should have not.
Okay.
And Raymond, I believe.
Raymond was on my list. I'd have to look, have it in front of me.
Well, I wanna thank you for finally providing us with the answers.
Sure.
It's been a long,
And,
any other questions for these 2 gentlemen? If not, Chief Riker, are you still here? We discussed how this is gonna mesh with our leash law, and he has a plan that we'll probably bring in detail later, but just give us a quick overview of how this can work together and the fact that basically our leash law is working. So-
It is, we've issued several citations, they've gone through the ordinance court process over the past several months. So our plan would be to route these calls as we direct our public through our dispatch directly, and then have dispatch send us, because if it's a dog running at large, we can identify the dog owner, we can write a citation. And then that's not attached to whether or not the pickup actually occurs, and then we would have them reach out to animal control, and the request we'll make is just that they log those calls and contacts, and then we can have a mesh at the end. And then we're working towards how we can really limit anything beyond those hours, whether or not we come up with a little storage area, or if you have somebody who has a enclosure, sometimes people will already have the dog in a fence, and they're willing to keep it in there, so we could say, 9 o'clock in the morning, call and ask if someone will come pick it up, so. And, those will pretty much exclusively go through me 24 hours a day, so that does not get overly used. And, we'll dispatch a police officer there, have him try to solve the problem without any contact being needed, and we would only call under those limited times when it would fit the contract and be an absolute emergency, so that way we don't overly expend ourselves on the per use thing, but, and then if something happens where we have to adjust, we'll adjust, but, I think we definitely have to run that through one source. So it goes through dispatch, they dispatch both entities, and then we communicate.
That makes most sense.
So that's our current plan, and we'll move if we need to.
Yeah, I have a question. So on the animal side, what happens to an animal that you don't know who it belongs to? What do you do with them?
Well, we have a procedure that we have to go through, we have to hold it for so many days. Meanwhile, we have to give it all the shots, we gotta attend to any medical issue. There's a whole lot that goes into this. We go under the Humane Care Act, we go underneath all the other policies that we have for the state of Illinois. And once we get all that done, of course, we're accruing bills on our end, spay, neutering, same thing. And if the owner doesn't come, then we put it up for adoption, if it's adoptable. Sometimes we find other places, to come and get the animal, sometimes we gotta take it to other locations. Like rescues, for example, like pit bull rescues. As everyone knows in here, probably the 99% of all that we do down there is larger pit bull mixes, and it's part of our culture apparently.
What are your other towns around there? Do they have a feral cat program? Are you aware of any feral cat
I'm not
programs?
aware of any feral cat programs.
Now, we've handled it before, but it's not really a program that we've got. There's feral cats, we find, links with farmers, and we have the contact between the individual with cats and the farmer, we stay out of it, usually. And farmers are happy, people getting rid of the cats are happy, everybody's happy, and we're out of it. Because if we have to get involved, that means we have to spend more money, spaying and neuter them, we have to do all this other stuff, and then we've got a bunch of other taxpayer money dumped into a cat that who knows where it's gonna go, where and how.
Do you know what other towns do, like Hillsborough, close to Litchfield size, what they do with their feral cat problem?
I don't, they have not worked with, they haven't had a contract with us for a while, so we haven't been responding to their area to handle those type of issues. And I don't know what kind of process they have.
All I know is we got a list, sometimes farmers will come in and say, hey, if you run into any feral cats, and somebody says, hey, I got some cats, we just hook them up together and we stay out of it.
Okay.
Do they have didn't Montgomery County at one time have a thing where they would neuter and spay cats for people?
You talking about sent to the vet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like $200 for a dog, but
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, the prices went through the roof. And that's why it costs so much for us, every time we get an animal, we have to give it all the shots and deal with all of it, neuter and spay, my gosh, by the time we're done feeding it, storing it, it's expensive, so. But, yeah, I mean, we take it through the county vet.
Though, you could take your cat over there or something and then neuter.
Are you talking about like a clinic?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know that we've ran any clinics recently, we've done it in the past where we set up a day,
Yeah,
a couple
that's what
days.
I'm saying.
Oh,
They-
yeah,
One time I
so
know you
those
could
are-
take your cat over there and get her neutered and
Yeah,
sprayed.
those
and
are-
it didn't cost you that much.
Those are generally grant funded,
Yeah.
programs where they will say, we're gonna do a grant, you can have this much money and do a clinic and do the spade and neuters for dogs and cats.
Yeah.
We haven't done it recently.
I know they did it for cats more than they did the dogs.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately for us, we've been stockpiling them up and taking them down there under that grant and taking them to the APL. And like for cats, we were getting them for $45 a piece, which is a good deal for us because folks charge more, a lot more. And, when you have all these animals and you compound it, it gets very expensive.
Thank you, State's Attorney in front. I know that you have personnel problems too, but, plus a caseload. If we have repeat offenders, are you gonna have the time and the people to prosecute?
Yeah, if there's a vicious, like, I'm assuming you're talking about something that I can handle, so like a vicious dog or a dangerous dog, yes, and we've done it in the past, we've done the vicious dog complaints to have them either, put down or, gone through the process of requiring the owner to go through the process of securing the home and what they need to do and that sort of thing, and we certainly, when we're brought those problems, we certainly talk to them.
And that was another concern that the mayors had, that the, owners would be more accountable and not just pay $50 to get their animal back.
Yeah, and I mean, it certainly depends on the situation, like a dog that's violating your leash law, 5 times, 6 times, that's not something that's gonna fall under what I can do, cause that doesn't meet the definition of a vicious or dangerous dog. In that situation, you'll have to use your counsel to increase the fines every time that they have a violation. But if you have a dog that's getting out and injuring people, injuring other dogs, that meets that definition of vicious or dangerous dogs, then certainly we go through that process with that.
Okay, thank you. One more question.
Yes, I have a question. We never saw a contract that was just optional for the emergency only. We didn't see that, and other municipalities have been able to sign that. For this first year, would we be better off doing the per call with the procedures that Chief Riker has in place? And seeing, we have a year, see how many calls we get, how many calls we have to make. I realize that it's not going to be easy to budget, but you have an amount in the budget. And wouldn't we save money if we only had 16 calls? And if you're gonna do your thing,
How many calls do we average from Litchfield?
Sarah, we were given at a mayor's meeting, a spreadsheet, per capita billing for animal control. It lists all the communities in the county, and, the number of, animals that were picked up, and at the 250 would have been after hours, and they said Litchfield had 15.
so that would be saving money rather than giving the $2 per capita. I didn't realize that was an option because that wasn't on the contract that we saw,
We didn't have that.
but we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, the per capita was at the request of Litchfield, so that's why we drafted it that way.
We wanted per capita, but no extra charges.
Right, and I thought that was.
I understand that, I'm just saying.
There was another contract this whole time
Well,
that other cities have signed.
Well, right,
So we could
But-
do the
but that
cost
was-
per call for a year.
what do you think? I mean, I don't know, I don't know, this was something that was brought in, cause it was told by us how they look big, was how many animals that Litchfield, do you know how many was on your list? from
15.
15, that's it for the entire year?
At the 250.
Oh, at the 250.
But how many were during the day though, that were not?
That's where I was getting at.
So that was just after hours calls, that wasn't complete.
Right.
The 250 is only after hours calls.
Yes.
The reason they're doing per capita is they're giving us, it's not 250, it's per capita from 9 to 5, right guys?
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Well,
that's,
then
that's
that
the
was
key
also
piece.
the zoo
But that
one,
was- that was my
not
question.
answering calls during the day.
Well, and are you answering calls for those per call people during the day?
Yes.
But they're not paying for that service, they're only paying for after hours.
No, they're paying a per
So
call.
per call,
during-
no matter
No
what.
matter what,
Yeah.
it's
Whether
a
it's-
certain,
okay.
it's a certain amount per call during the day, and then it increases to the 250 per call.
What is it during the day?
The reason that we came up with a per capita idea is because the suggested contract was $150 during hours, $250 after hours.
Yeah, and that's what the other agencies have, that's what the other ones have.
That's how it adds up.
And
We
But
thought-
you don't have a number of how many they responded
they didn't
to
give
per
that
night.
to us.
So for the entire, from what I remember looking at the numbers, it was a lot. So I don't think it would've been cost effective.
We weren't given the, regular hours pickup, so we thought at that point, might as well be able to budget it per capita with no extra.
Right, I
charge.
understand, but
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, there's two levels.
Yeah, 126 calls roughly to 150. I mean, that's never gonna be.
well, no, I just was not aware that they were offering the
Yeah.
per pickup. That wasn't something that we saw, so.
And I don't think it'd be feasible for you guys, the amount of calls you have during the day through the week. I don't know, it may be, I don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. We haven't done a contract for
Chief.
10 years.
What do you think? Do you hear a lot of calls during working hours?
Initially, as we enter into this, we will have an abundance of calls.
Because
Yeah.
Because they can't.
Because they need.
But the reason that the per capita came was that we had a set expense to budget for. The entire 19,000 is inclusive of the per capita plus any anticipated
Right,
after
plus-
hours calls. So it's not, we may not hit that at all, we may be landing at the 14,000, whatever.
Yeah, cause someone, it depends on how many calls you wanna make.
I was
It's like
budgeting in
seven-
a couple after hours calls per month, which I would say is very generous, so.
So if you're at, what, 7,500? What's your population?
Like 6,800.
We'll be at 13,400.
Yeah. So.
So I
Yeah,
guess
but-
126 calls on that would be 10 to 11 calls per month.
Yeah.
Is about the per capita,
So if you're doing,
and I don't know whether
That was just a
Litchfield
straight
has.
150, no 250. No, that's not a perfect number. That was just a
Yeah.
150.
Well, and
Yeah, I don't know how many Litchfield
You're-
has.
if you're at $13,500 for the per capita, and you're getting charged $150 per call, that's 90 calls.
So let me ask this, say we enter this agreement per capita this year because we really don't know.
Yeah.
Say we have way less calls than anticipated and we say we'd really like to switch to a per call instead of per
Sure.
capita, is that something you'd be
Yeah,
open to?
I
You
don't
have
see why
the
we
option,
wouldn't.
that's why it's written the first year, the contract will go for a year. If it be, 90 days prior to that year being up, you say, this isn't working, send us a notice that you wanna cancel it, renegotiate, cancel it, renegotiate. So that's why we put in there, cause we're really not, this is the first time we're doing this for
Yeah.
any, city, so we wanted to give them the opportunity, we didn't wanna, sneak you guys in for a whole 3-year contract without knowing how it's gonna go, so it gives you the option after a year to say, this isn't really working for us.
Or we can amend it or modify it.
So, yeah.
And it's really only 9 months,
Yeah,
cause then we'd have
At
to
this
give 90
point,
days
yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
So we'd have
But-
9 months to try it out, see how it works, and then.
Okay, again, thank you.
Yep.
If there are no other questions, welcome to stay, or you can, again, thank you for the answers.
It's
You're
710,
welcome.
Andrew, so.
Okay, there's been
It's 710.
I know, I'm good.
been a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Sisson. Aye. Carol. Aye. Zumwalt. Aye. Huffman.
Aye.
Hughes. Aye. Payne. Aye. Fleming.
Aye.
Kellenberger.
Aye.
Motion passes. And I tell you, I will sign that tonight with glee, because it says so in the ordinance book, and I follow ordinances. We all should. Alderman Hughes.
Alright. I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a service level agreement with Ricer LLC for the compliance engine tracking of annual fire system and extinguisher inspections.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Oh, sorry. We'll come back. Thank you. Can I get a second? Alderman Zoom, 1 second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Kellenberger.
Aye.
Fleming.
Aye.
Payne. Hughes. Aye. Huffman.
Aye.
Zumwalt. Gerald.
Aye.
Sisson.
Motion passes. Okay, next, number 1, we have a discussion with possible action. I think, Alderman Kellenberger got some calls with people, wanting, East Park Place opened again, in Madison Park Elementary, since it's not being used anymore. Any discussion? What do we think?
I just had my kids at Madison Park earlier this week. It's a great place to take your kids. That's why we have our pickleball courses and stuff to do there. That's not a heavily trafficked road at all and would be
mistaken, I believe.
I agree with Cassidy on that as well. I think there's a lot of kids just around there, it would be just in our best interest.
Okay, anybody have any negatives towards it? If not-
There are a lot of people that want that road open.
Okay.
To me, yeah, during the day, there are kids there and that,
Okay.
but, you know, is there not a setback on that? On where the road is and where the other things are?
Well, the
In other words, how
boulevard
far
would
is
be
it
there,
from
yeah.
The road borders the playground.
Yeah,
So
the
the
road
edge of the
has
road is basketball.
Yeah, we
And
would
there's
have-
basketball courts.
And Foursquare right on the road.
Normally it's 25, yeah, we took down the playground equipment, it's gone, so.
Oh, basketball.
And, well, we'll
Yeah.
need to go too, but, we should have 25 feet from the center of that street to, for the easement.
Right.
Right, Gary?
Should be, yes, I would check into.
I will note that where the old, playground equipment was, that we're working on removing currently, we did apply to the Hilton Foundation for 2 additional pickleball courts in that area. They would be fenced in, but it would be pretty close to that road as well.
Okay.
No.
Oh,
If
sorry,
it is
Brian.
blocked off the basketball courts, is that an issue? Cause I mean, my kids play basketball, there's one basketball court in the middle that's usually taken, and there's 3 or 4 for kids to play, and my kids generally were smaller and played, the big kids played in the big court, and the little kids played in the small courts. I'd hate to get rid of an asset we already have if it's already there.
Well, you got the park here, there is a road that goes from Chestnut to Montgomery, 150 feet down. I don't see what the drastic need would be for people to be able to travel this.
Well, and another concern that I have is because that road has been closed for so long, most of the kids in town have it in their heads that cars
It's part
don't
of
go
the
on
park.
that road, and
Yeah.
I think it could be a safety issue if you started having traffic there.
I agree, but I think it is an issue if the gentleman living there tries to claim it and gives the kids at the park a hard time there.
Yeah, that shouldn't be.
You can't adversely possess land from the city.
So do you need a motion to keep it open? Do you need a motion?
There's a discussion,
You don't
if
need
we don't.
anything.
Only
if-
need a motion to
if no-
reopen.
If nobody wants to make any type of motion, we'll just let it stand.
I think it's just.
Agreed.
Nobody? Okay. We will move on, Alderman Kellenberger.
Okay, so no vote on 1. Okay.
Alderman Kellenberger, number 3.
Make a motion to approve a resolution accepting the preliminary plan for Wildflower subdivision, including a variance to section 150 appendix A of the municipal court code to allow for a 20-foot rear yard setback for lots 34 through 45.
Thank you. We'll get a second?
Second.
Alderwoman Sisson, seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sisson.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
Zumel. Huffman.
Aye.
Hughes.
Aye.
Payne. Fleming.
Aye.
Kellenberger.
Motion passes. Alderman Payne.
I make a motion to approve the Litchfield Museum and Route 66 Welcome Center's request for hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $10,000 on May 1st, 2025 for marketing and advertising.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Alderman
Mr.
Kellenberger,
Mayor.
seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Kellenberger.
Aye.
Fleming.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
Hughes.
Aye.
Huffman.
Aye.
Zumel. Carol.
Aye.
Sisson.
Aye.
Motion passes. Alderman Payne.
I make a motion to award a bid for a 3-year contract for fireworks to Spectrum Pyrotechnics for an amount not to exceed $24,200 a year.
Thank you. Alderman Garrell, seconds. I know Stacy had a real time trying to find, someone to do this, so I think, any amount of money to get it done. You good? Anybody else have any comments?
I think $8,000 for a year is pretty cheap.
No, you're reading that wrong.
So that's 24,000 per
Per
year.
Okay, you're right, I was reading that wrong.
My question is just, I think it's great, I wanna keep doing it, but if it keeps going in this direction, you know, traditions, I mean, we have people come out to the lake, I don't know if there's any way to track like how much money we're making from all the people that come out in the lake that week, and I'm sure there's a lot spending money on, you know.
It's a
rentals
service,
and,
fireworks
you
are a
know,
service.
Yeah, absolutely, we could track that, but I would say last year, we had well over 6,000 people out at the lake that Thursday night. So it.
Yeah,
it-
it's, we can't track it, but we're making money too, almost we can. report.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No other discussion, roll call please.
Sisson. Gerald.
Aye.
Zumal. Huffman.
Aye.
Hughes. Payne. Fleming.
Aye.
Ellenberger.
Aye.
Motion passes, Alderman Zumwalt.
Make a motion to award a bid for a 3-year contract for mowing services for Precision Mowing for an amount not to exceed $172,000 per year for select city property and $40 per lot per cut for select city-owned vacant residential lots.
Alderman Huffman seconds, any discussion?
Was it 172 per, okay, yeah, for a 3-year contract, right, it was over 3 years?
172 per
Per
year.
year.
Each year for 3 years.
Okay.
It's always been bid 3 years at a time, hasn't it?
The first.
At least last time it was.
It was 1 year initially.
It's 3 years.
Any other questions? Roll call please.
Ellenberger.
Aye.
Fleming.
Aye.
Payne. Hughes. Huffman.
Aye.
Zumal. Gerald.
Aye.
Sisson.
Motion passes, Alderman Huffman.
I make a motion to reject all bids for signage at the Lake Blue Gator recreational area.
Thank you, in a second.
Second.
Alderman Payne seconds, any discussion?
I did just want to explain for the public why we're doing this, because I know when you see reject all bids, it does raise some questions. So we had received 3 bids for signage out at the lake. I'm trying to find them right now, 1 second. Okay,
They're in there.
and, one was for $65,495, they were from a company, that was out of town by Chicago. Michael Signs out of Wisconsin was $45,500, and Warning Lights, which is, a company within the area, they were $11,094.82. They attended the bid opening. They realized when talking with our lake superintendent after the bid opening that they had mistakenly not included the signpost in their bids. That's about another $2,000 expense. So they withdrew their bid, and then they did send an alternate bid. So it's not necessarily the formal textbook bidding process, but the other 2 were substantially higher. And we felt that even with the update of, it was $12,980.82, they were still the lowest bid by far, so that's why we went the route we did.
And if I'm not wrong, right, I think we got this award from the Kilton Fund last year.
Yes, this is all Kilton Fund, donated, and IDNR actually recommended Warning Lights. They use them for a lot of their signs, and so that they're great for parks and that sort of space.
Okay, roll call on the motion to reject all bids for signage.
Sisson.
What was the?
We're rejecting all bids for the signage?
Aye.
Okay,
Gerald.
Aye.
Zumal. Huffman.
Aye.
Hughes. Payne. Fleming.
Aye.
Ellenberger.
motion passes, now Alderman Huffman.
I make a motion to waive bids and accept a proposal from Warning Lights for signage at the Lake Blue Jaeger recreational area for an amount not to exceed $12,980.82.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Alderman Gerald seconds. Any discussion on this? Explain. Roll call please.
Ellenberger.
Aye.
Fleming.
Aye.
Payne. Hughes. Huffman.
Aye.
Zumal. Gerald. Sisson.
Motion passes. Now ask for a motion to enter into executive session as allowed under the Illinois Open Meetings Act, as found in chapter 5 of the Illinois Compiled Statutes, section 120, to address these certain and restricted items. Number 1, the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Number 2, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act. Thank you.